My name is Kate 12. I'm a 33-year-old nurse. After graduating from nursing school, I became a nurse and now work at a clinic in the city. I was introduced to my husband by the clinic's director. My husband, Tony, is a licensed psychologist. I work at an internal medicine clinic, and Tony works at a mental health clinic. Our fields are different, but both our clinic directors were classmates in college. Due to family circumstances, I didn't have the luxury of dating and was focused on my work. My parents passed away early, so I was worried about my younger brother, Joy. Just when I was relieved that Joy had graduated from college and found a job, I was introduced to Tony. Tony was kind, intelligent, and wonderful man. Tony and I got married, and despite being busy, we live happily together. My brother Joy is 25, 8 years younger than me. He has always adored his big sister and relied on me. Joy was genuinely happy when I married Tony and gained a brother-in-law. Joy married a woman he met at his workplace. She was a temporary employee there. Named Mary, coincidentally, the daughter of someone I know. Even after marrying, Joy often visits our home. He enjoys talking to me, but he's also fond of Tony, his brother-in-law. Today, Joy came to my house with a cake as a gift. "Hey, I bought this delicious cheesecake from a famous store." The cake Joy offered was from a popular store featured in magazines. While I appreciated his thoughtfulness, something concerned me. "Joy, it's nice, but aren't you off today? Where's Mary?" Joy's expression clouded over when I asked. He often visits Tony and me, but Mary is rarely with him. Trying to reassure me, Joy smiled. "Mary has a headache today. She's resting at home, so don't worry." It was a kind lie from Joy, concerned about his sister. Previously, Mary had stomach pain, then anemia, and back pain before that. As a nurse, I know he can't fool me, but Joy's efforts are touching. The truth is, Mary is healthy. She just doesn't want to see me. It seems she disliked me from the time Joy introduced us as his fiancée. Mary's parents and I are acquaintances, but we couldn't get along. After our parents' sudden deaths, I worked as a nurse and paid for Joy's education. Joy is grateful and looks up to me as a parent. Mary doesn't like how much Joy admires me. Once, when it was just Mary and me, she said, "Don't act as if Joy being grateful to you is normal. It's annoying." I don't ever recall behaving like Joy's gratitude was something I expected. Joy lost our parents when he was in high school. He talked about dropping out to work. I knew Joy wanted to study in college, so I worked hard to save for his tuition. It was my decision, not a calculation. I wanted to protect my brother, not as a plan, but as his sister. Despite being upset, I wondered if I, as the elder, should let Mary's words slide. I responded to Mary. Joy landed a job at a major corporation because of his hard work. Accusations like that are unpleasant. After that, Mary started to completely ignore me. She probably saw me as a troublesome sister-in-law for speaking my mind. I kept Mary's words a secret from Joy. If he knew she insulted me, it would lead to a fight between them. I didn't want to cause a rift in their marriage, but the observant Joy noticed that Mary was avoiding me. I would have liked to get along with my brother's wife. As Joy ate the cake, he looked apologetic. "Kate and Tony, I'm sorry about Mary." We were once invited to Joy's house. It was always at my house, so Joy's invitation was special. But when we arrived on the day, Mary was not there. Joy had prepared a feast, but it was thrown in the trash. The bin was filled with the food Joy had cooked. He had stored the dishes he made the previous day in the fridge. Mary had thrown them away out of spite. Seeing Joy and me stunned, Tony calmly said, "It's a waste, but it can be helped. Don't worry about it, Joy." When Tony confronted him, Joy burst into tears. It was the first time Joy had cried like that since our parents' funeral. Tony gently suggested, "Kate, could you order some delivery, please?" he said to me. Tony, being a psychologist, stayed by Joy's side until he calmed down. Once Joy felt better, we ate hamburgers from a delivery. Since that incident, Tony and I vowed never to go to Joy's house. Joy blamed Mary for her actions, but she was defiant. She said she threw away the food because the fridge was cluttered with unnecessary dishes. "I'm a housewife. It's my job to throw out the trash." Even though she claimed to be a housewife, Mary didn't do household chores. Joy didn't mention it, but he was considering divorce. He was worried about troubling me. The fact that Mary's parents and I know each other made it harder for him to decide. Kind-hearted Joy always thinks of others before himself. Tony was worried about this, such as a person often wears themselves out. Joy visits us because he feels more at ease with me and Tony. I didn't mind that Mary disliked me. People have their own preferences and dislikes, but I wanted her to stop causing Joy pain. As I thought this, Tony gently said, "Joy, I received a nice assortment of herbal teas. Would you like to take some home?" When Tony offered the tea set he got from his colleagues, Joy smiled. "Thank you, Tony. The coffee you gave me last time was great." Tony was well respected by doctors, nurses, and patients at his workplace. He was also admired by junior colleagues. Being a psychologist, Tony dealt with people's emotions. It's a demanding job mentally for the counselor as well. Tony was discreetly supporting the new counselors. As a token of their appreciation, a junior counselor had given him the tea set. I was also thinking of giving something back to the people at my workplace. And Joy excitedly told Tony and me, "Kate and Tony, I'm planning a special Thanksgiving for you. Look forward to it." Before I could tell him not to worry, Tony interrupted with a smile. "Thank you. We're both looking forward to it." After Joy left, Tony kindly said to me, "Kate, your brother is giving from his heart. Let's accept it with a smile." Yes, I keep treating Joy like a child. Joy is a 25-year-old adult. I instinctively worry as a sister, but I should celebrate his growth as a family. As I went to clear the cups, Tony took them instead. While washing the dishes, Tony joked, "If you keep fussing over Joy, I might get jealous." I hugged him as he carefully cleaned the dishes, laughing softly. "I respect you and love you even more." Tony smiled at my words. I have a husband whom I trust and love deeply. I wish Joy and Mary could have the same. As I lowered my gaze, Tony seemed to read my mind and reassured me. "Mary is 24, right? She's much younger than us. Let's be patient and watch over her," Tony said. I nodded in agreement, hoping that with time, Mary would open up. However, the faint hope I had vanished quickly. It happened a week after Joy's visit. We received a Thanksgiving gift, which turned out to be from Joy and his wife. I wanted to open it immediately, but waited for Tony to come home. It wasn't an assortment, so I was curious about what it could be. When Tony finally arrived, I showed him the Thanksgiving gift. "It's from Joy for Thanksgiving. I wanted to open it with you, Tony." Tony watched with amusement as I excitedly anticipated the gift. Together we opened it, expecting a pleasant surprise. But when we saw what looked like lottery tickets, we were speechless. Even the usually unflappable Tony was dumbfounded. His expression confirmed to me that what I was seeing was real, not an illusion. The Thanksgiving gift from Joy was a bunch of lottery tickets. Thinking it might be a surprise, we checked them, only to find they were all losers. The gift, carefully wrapped, turned out to be all losing lottery tickets. The situation almost seemed like a question from some bizarre test. Tony checked the losing tickets, considering if they might be some kind of code, but it was unlike Joy to play such a prank. Tony was looking for a hidden message, but I already had my suspicion. It was most likely that Mary had switched the gift Joy had prepared. When I shared this with Tony, he sighed. "I'll call Joy to thank him. I can tell if someone is lying because of my work," Tony said. He called Joy on his mobile phone, and Joy's cheerful voice quickly came through. "Tony, did you get the Thanksgiving gift? How was it?" Tony responded calmly to Joy's innocent inquiry.
Kate and I were so surprised, we were at a loss for words.
While this was true for us, Joy sounded pleased as he replied,
I wanted to wrap it more, but it can be used for shopping and dinner.
At this point, both Tony and I were certain. Joy believed he had sensed something different. Honestly, Joy couldn't be lying so convincingly, especially to a professional like Tony. I wasn't confident I could calmly tell Joy the truth, so Tony spoke to him, relaying the facts as they were. Joy, in shock, asked me to talk to him. Joy is startled and yells for me to take over. I took a deep breath and confirmed to Joy that Tony was right. Joy's voice, stunned, told me the true content of the Thanksgiving gift.
I sent a $1,000 gift voucher, you know? What?
In our hands were only 4 losing lottery tickets, clearly swapped out. My brother and I both realized the truth, but without evidence, neither of us could say it. Joy had personally bought the gift vouchers and had them wrapped. He stored them in a secure place, a safe that required a specific combination to open. Joy said that Mary didn't know about the safe, but when Joy mentioned the safe, Tony seemed to understand everything.
Joy, the safe's combination is a 3-digit number, right?
Joy to his question.
Yes?
Joy answered. Tony softened his expression slightly and asked Joy to put Mary on the phone.
I have a few light questions for Mary. Let me talk to her.
I heard Joy calling Mary over the phone. When Mary sounded reluctant, came on the line, Tony gently spoke to her.
Good evening, Mary. I have a few questions for you. Just answer yes or no.
His gentle tone was somehow more intimidating. As he began his questioning.
First question. Do you like treasure hunts, Mary?
Tony asked as if he were talking to a child. His casual question had a purpose. Mary answered wearily, Yes. After some trivial questions, Tony suddenly inquired, catching the unsuspecting Mary off guard.
Do you recognize the number 3710?
Yes. No, I don't know. Hearing Mary's flustered response, Tony calmly spoke.
Thank you. That's all for me. Are you tired? Anything else you want to say?
There's something terrifying about someone speaking fearsome words with a smile. Tony's calm demeanor as he delivered his final statement was particularly frightening. Sure enough, Mary confessed a significant secret. As she started to cry, Tony asked Joy about the safe's combination where he had stored the gift vouchers. It turned out Mary knew the combination. That made it easy for her to steal the vouchers. I realized why Tony knew this. Joy used my name for the combination, Kate 12, so 812. It was an easy number to remember, but also easy to guess. The question remained whether Mary really had stolen the item. Confronted by Joy, Mary tried to deflect. It's not me, it's my mom. She stole them when she visited. She has a habit of stealing. Mary, crying and insisting on her innocence, left Joy at a loss. Hearing the situation, I suggested we find definitive proof, since we only had circumstantial evidence. It was more likely that Mary switched the gift certificates, but only circumstantial evidence is available. Joy and I ended the call with unresolved feelings. I told Joy, let's wait until we have solid proof. I told him secretly. 3 days after the lottery ticket incident, a visitor came to my clinic. I had made an appointment in advance, so I took the afternoon off to meet this person at a cafe away from the clinic. Nice to see you again, Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith was my mentor from nursing school and Mary's mother, thus the person Mary accused of switching the gift vouchers. Joy had contacted Mrs. Smith immediately, keeping it a secret from Mary. None of us, Joy, Tony, nor I, believed Mary's excuse from the start. We pretended to believe her because we lacked evidence. Since there was no evidence, I pretended to believe it. Mary was, I'm sorry, an idiot. As a result, he falsely accused my teacher of the theft. Mrs. Smith is honest, serious, and strict, but she is a respectable teacher because she is Mrs. Smith's daughter. I have endured Mary's harassment. However, this time was a situation that could not be overlooked. Mrs. Smith answered resolutely, probably because Joy had explained the process to her.
Kate, I swear it wasn't me. Mary stole them. I have proof.
She pulled out 6 lottery tickets from her bag. I showed her the 4 from her Thanksgiving gift. Together, they made 10 consecutive tickets. Mrs. Smith always buys lottery tickets in consecutive order, a fact she's mentioned since my student days. The losing lottery tickets we received were conclusively bought by Mrs. Smith. She apologized deeply to me.
I don't know how to apologize. I'm so sorry as Mary's mother,
Mrs. Smith explained. I was about to throw away some useless lottery tickets when I realized they were gone. Strangely, only 4 of them had disappeared, which made me suspicious. As I worried about it and stored the rest, I got a call from Joy. Mrs. Smith was shocked to find out her daughter had committed theft and falsely accused Mon, who was actually the perpetrator. Mary had a history of stealing money from family wallets at her parents' home. I tried scolding her, but it had no effect, and she only became more rebellious. Eventually, she started stealing valuable items from our family home. Mary has a sister whose boyfriend gifted brand necklace was stolen by her. Questioning her about the stolen goods was futile. She probably sold them.
I'm so sorry for keeping this hidden, but stealing the Thanksgiving cards too.
I begged Mrs. Smith, who was endlessly apologizing, to look at me. It's not your fault, ma'am. We'll make Mary take responsibility. Mrs. Smith left, shoulders drooping from her daughter's misdeeds. After parting with Mrs. Smith, I immediately headed to Joy's house. I knew Mary would be there at this time. Having a spare key from Joy, I quietly entered the house. Without hesitation, I opened the door to the room with Joy's safe. Caught in the act, thief! Everything was as Tony had predicted. It was essential to catch Mary in the act of stealing, so we hastily set a trap. Joy suddenly hinted that he had changed the safe's combination. We left hints obvious enough for Mary. As a final touch, I ostentatiously showed storing a large sum of money. Mary fell right into our trap. Caught red-handed by me, Mary was stunned. But she defiantly showed an envelope full of cash. I'm his wife. His money is my money. So she confessed to stealing the gift cards. The $1,000 worth of gift cards were quickly spent. All she wanted, she laughed, was more money. Having gotten her confession about the Thanksgiving cards, I inquired about her past crimes. Mary bragged about her thieving habits. It turned out she had sold her sister's necklace. There's no use trying to make someone like her reflect. So I decided to thank her for her confession. I understand. I'll provide this conversation as evidence to the police. Thinking I came to her house unprepared was foolish. Of course I had a recorder. Furthermore, Joy had quickly set up a camera in the safe room. We had both video and audio evidence, and the clincher was the bundle of bills Mary was trying to steal. These are new bills. It'd be strange if we found anyone's fingerprints other than the bank's and Joy's. As I coldly stated, Mary lost her temper. Setting me up, you old hag! Just as Mary was about to strangle me, Joy and Tony burst in. In fact, they had entered the house while Mary was distracting me. Joy shouted as they restrained Mary.
Tony, call the police, quick.
At Joy's command, Tony nodded and took out his mobile phone.
Hello? We've caught a thief. Could you come over?
The police arrived and arrested Mary on the spot. We were all questioned by the police separately. We submitted the evidence and honestly explained how everything started. Then, an astonishing truth emerged. Police investigations revealed Mary's criminal record. Since her youth, she had been repeatedly caught shoplifting. Joy divorced Mary and sued her. Mrs. Smith resigned from the nursing school, feeling responsible. Mary's parents disowned her and moved away. Joy was begged by Mrs. Smith for forgiveness, promising to compensate for the stolen money. However, Joy didn't hold Mary's parents accountable.
We'll make Mary pay every cent.
Thus, Mary was obliged to repay the $1,000. Being disowned, she borrowed money. The police are carefully watching her, as she has other charges. The more they investigated Mary, the more misdeeds they found. Even as a temp worker, she stole money from colleagues' wallets. Victims kept quiet, fearing exposure. When about to be caught, she'd change her workplace. But Mary, being foolish, recorded her own crimes. The stolen amount was substantial. Exposed, she was sued by several victims. Now she's overwhelmed with repaying the stolen money. The interest on her dangerous loans was reportedly enormous. Joy was relieved to have divorced her. As a nurse, I had an unsolved mystery. Mrs. Smith was truly a wonderful teacher, yet her daughter Mary was the worst. Mary brought disgrace to her own family. It was puzzling how things turned out this way. Tony thoughtfully answered my question.
Parents want to hide their children's shame. Even great teachers are just parents.
Tony is counseling Mrs. Smith at our request. Mrs. Smith was traumatized by Mary's actions. Thankfully, she seemed a bit brighter after counseling. Mary is busy repaying debts and loans. It was certain she would soon be pursued by the police.